Welcome back to Red Horn Society. Today I wanted to go over a topic that I've been getting a lot of feedback on, and that's how to refletch your already fletched arrows. A lot of times when you're shooting on your target in the backyard and things of that nature, your fletchings become damaged over time, and there's a lot of people who don't know how to refletch their arrows, and that's all right. There's never been anybody to show them before. So without further ado, I'd like to start on some of the things that you're going to need, some of the things that you're going to want to utilize, and the way to go about it to make sure that you make this task successful and it lasts you a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to refletch a regular standard plastic vane arrow as well as a feathered vane arrow. So some of the materials and tools that you're going to need, and it's not a great deal of things that you're going to need: good razor knife, fletching glue, couple of Q-tips, obviously your fletching, a fletcher of some type of sort, and either acetone, MEK, or denatured alcohol. Now, why I give you three choices? Because I know some of y'all might live out there in areas that you might not have access to a hardware store that has all of these, so you might only have one of them. The least choice I would probably utilize, even though I'm a big fan of, is acetone. The reason I say that is a lot of people have a feeling, and arrow manufacturers included, that if you utilize acetone when cleaning off the shaft of your arrows, that it can actually damage the bonding agents that are within the arrow itself that bond the carbon and the materials together. I've used it in a pinch, felt comfortable, but at the end of the day, it's probably, I wouldn't say the last ditch effort, but out of these three, probably number three that you want to utilize. My favorite is MEK. It stands for, and it's a hard word to pronounce, methyl ethyl ketone, or short for MEK. And number three, which is just about as good as MEK, would be regular standard denatured alcohol. You could probably utilize rubbing alcohol if it's strong, not witch hazel or something of that nature, but I would definitely utilize denatured alcohol before you went with a household product. So without further ado, I want to get into some of the materials that I utilize. Number one, the razor knife I use is always a sharp blade, straight razor knife. I don't like to use a hooked razor knife like you'd see on a roofing project, like a roofer's razor knife. I have seen some people that prefer that. I think it's absolute bullshit. I don't prefer it at all, and I'll show you the reason why here momentarily. As far as glues go, I utilize, my number one that I like to utilize is either a gel style fletching glue, and I've ran out of it, but I saved the casing to it. But the G5 blue glue, I'm a huge fan of because you can actually see what you're doing. One that I have here that I wouldn't recommend at all will be this type, platinum fletch type. I'm not about bashing brands, so I hope that you don't get the wrong message. However, I wouldn't utilize this to build a dog house, much less fletch an arrow, something that I need to perform when I have an animal at the end of the arrow. So without further ado, if you could come forward, as I'm going to go ahead and show you how to strip these down. On this arrow here, you can see how this one began to come apart, and this arrow here has had its fair share of woes. So I'm going to start off with the plastic vane portion of it. And what I'm going to do first off, because this one does have a bulldog collar on the end of it, I'm going to go ahead and remove that just so I don't damage it. And what I've got here is a little bucket. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this. Basically what you want to do is you want to keep this blade as parallel to the arrow as possible, so that when you go to start cutting on it, it's taking off the fletching material as opposed to cutting down your arrow. Once you start getting on it in a more 90 degree or 45 degree portion, it's going to damage your carbon shaft. So if you try to keep that as parallel as you can, you're going to notice that it's actually going to help out more than it's going to be detrimental. So what I'm going to do for starters is just start giving it a whack. And that's why I prefer this straight blade as opposed to a hook blade. Every time I tried to use a hook blade, I noticed it was just really damaging my arrow shaft. So once I get that pretty bare and feel confident in having it all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and sit that over here to the side. Now I'm going to go ahead and move over here to this feather fletching and just do the same type of deal. These are a little bit more in the cleaning process with the blade, just because there's a little bit more material. I like to run 5-inch fletchings. I know a lot of folks like to run 4-inch when they'll buy their feathers uncut in bulk, and we'll do a video on that later. But when they buy them off in bulk, they find they can get 2 cuts as opposed to 1. I don't buy a lot of feathers in bulk. Just don't. I wish I did, but I don't have as much time as I'd like to devote to arrow making anymore. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get some of those materials off the shaft and just get that nice and cleaned up. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go into my MEK with my rag. Whew. I'm going to grab something to open this up with. Sometimes these can be a little bit of a pain to open. Just with a couple of folds on the old cloth. What I'm going to want to do, and make sure you do this in a pretty well ventilated area. This stuff puts off a pretty potent aroma. Is just go ahead and wipe it down. And what that'll do is, number one, it's going to clean the shaft, but number two, it's going to help to break down some of those old gluing properties so they're easier to remove. The key to gluing your fletching on this arrow shaft is to make sure that it is free of all the previous gluing applications that you've had on it. And what I do, give it an opportunity to dry for a moment. And though it's not going to show up well on this camera, visually I'm going to have a good visual on the glue remnants that are left on this shaft. They're going to come up as more of a white. They're going to come up more as a whiteness that's easily to visualize. And then you can go ahead and get those cleaned off too. See how it's still scraping some of that old glue off of there? So what I'm going to do is just keep on going around with that blade as parallel to the shaft as I can get it while still cutting. And just get all that old stuff off. Whenever you're reshafting the arrow, or I'm sorry, not reshafting, but whenever you're refletching the arrow shaft, the 7 P's definitely apply. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. So if you preparate this arrow shaft, you'll have no problems. All right, that's pretty well done. I'm gonna go ahead and give it another hit of that MEK. Give it a visual look, and I'm just gonna let it air dry. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this last shaft. I can still see some remnants. I'm going to just keep spinning it and getting all those old remnants of glue. Graphite arrow shafts are very hard. They're very durable. As you all know, I'm sure 99% of you are utilizing those for your hunting apparatus. It's definitely a far cry from the old fiberglass shafts. And some folks might still utilize aluminum, but I'm sure it's pretty few and far between. Just get all those last little remnants off of there. Because if there's one thing that'll keep your arrows from adhering permanently, it'll definitely be old glue left on the shaft. So from that point, what I'm going to go ahead and do is reattach my my knock on this area. I'm not going to go ahead and put the bulldog collar back on quite yet because I don't want any glue to run into it. But I'm going to go ahead and get that. And once it's air dry, there's a couple of different ways that you can go. Number one, be a fletching device such as this. Blitzenberger makes a very, very good fletching device as well. However, my favorite that I found and utilized is by far the Arizona Easy Fletcher. It's dummy proof. Plainly put, it's dummy proof. It's easy to use. It's a one-stop deal. If it does get all gunked up with aero glue inside of it, you can drop it into acetone, is what they say, and it won't damage the plastics, but it will get off all your old glue and remnants. And what I like to do from there, it's easily identifiable. The blue portion of it's for your cock vein. They call it that because you utilize an alternate color so it's easily identifiable so that you knock your arrows the exact same every time. So cock vein, and then your other two. And I'll go ahead and give you a quick demonstration how to utilize one more similar to this, but I'm going to actually fletch these arrows with the Arizona. So what you would do is you would line up your, they've got little measurement portions down here on the very end of them. And what I would do is go ahead and get my measurements exact. When I utilize this primarily, I like doing mine at the 1/4 inch portion of the Fletcher. And what I would do is utilize my glue on this. Run my bead of glue, come down here, make sure I have it lined up properly, set it in place, give it a very, very minimal squeeze. I don't want to squeeze a lot of that glue out of there. I want it to adhere. And then I would repeat the process. Come around, give it a spin. These have a pre-manufactured notch inside the spinning device so that every one of them is uniform to the arrow. But today, I'm going to utilize the Arizona Easy Fletcher. So what I'm going to want to do, and I haven't touched this, try as much as you can not to touch this portion of the shaft once you've hit it with that last portion of cleaning agent, just so you don't get the greases of your fingers on it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pre-align this Arizona Easy Fletcher with this cock vein, followed by your two others. And you can go ahead and touch these with your fingers, it'll be okay. If you want to wear latex gloves, that's absolutely fine as well. Nothing wrong with it. Go ahead and get these to the very bottom of those right there. Lay it down in such a way. My favorite glue that I've ever found, bar none, hands down, is the gel style. I absolutely love it. That is my primary glue. Not putting down anybody else's glue, just my favorite. I like the others, I love this style. And the reason is because of controllability. The control factor. I can really, really control this well. So if you've ever caulked a door jamb, or if you've ever done any kind of thing like that, let me see here. Does it got a hole in there? It's got a hole in there. It starts to feed out, and you can apply this in a very, very, very controlled manner. And the biggest thing I can advise to you for this is to try to apply it in a way that's not messy. Because believe you me, in this portion of it, less is more. Once again, well ventilated area. This glue has a pretty potent smell. I like to be pretty conservative in my application of the glue. Now, once I have those all glued up, and now let me point out, this isn't colored by any means. It is a clear glue, so it's hard to see. So you want to be up on it, make sure that you've got it nice. Whew, that wouldn't have been good. Let me go ahead and hit that with a little MEK. Got a little glue on my knock. Definitely don't want that. Go ahead and place this in there and the knocks, and all you got to do from that point, let it up, come down with the end cap, and let it sit for about 30 to 45 seconds. So while that's sitting up, I'll go ahead and get the other portion preparated for these smaller blazer veins. Same thing once again. On these ones, I do try to touch these as little as possible on the portion that the glue is going to be applied, because they are a harder surface, and I don't want the oils from my skin to try to taint that at all. And I'm just going to do the same thing yet again. Veins are definitely easier than feathers. Then once I feel confident with that, I'm going to go ahead and insert my knock. Let that down. Run that down. And go ahead and let that set up. Go ahead and turn it off. I've gone ahead and let those set up. What I'll do is just the same exact process but in reverse. Remove these arrows. As I said before, the Q-tips, I like to just kind of clean these up just a hair. And one thing that I think will help you out long term will be if you just take the faintest hint of a dot of glue and apply it to the very, very, very tips of your fletchings. And when I say less is more, I wholeheartedly mean it. And then set that bad boy over here in the corner and let it take place. Same thing with this one here. Peel these off nice and easy, because sometimes they'll still have a faintness of not adhering. And once again, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'll go ahead and clean these up just a hair. And ever so lightly hit the front of these with just the slightest amount of fletching glue. Definitely a nice little Sunday project if you're going to do 12 arrows. Call that a day. Sit that back over there yet again and just let it adhere, let it take its place. And this will be an arrow ready to shoot. All right, y'all, these arrow shafts look perfect. This is exactly how I envisioned it when I started this project. Now y'all know how to refletch a feather veined arrow. as well as the plastic veined arrow. Nice Sunday project for y'all to undertake, something that y'all probably enjoy a whole lot of. Keep on subscribing to our videos, and I want to tell y'all again from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all so much for the support that we've received thus far. We're going to keep on coming out with rocking videos for y'all, things that are going to educate y'all as well as entertain. I just want to tell y'all from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Keep liking our videos, keep subscribing, become part of the movement. Red Horn Society, out.